Trickerion is a heavy game. So if you are not into heavy games, well, then you can just stop watching the video right now, because this is a heavy game. And in this video, I am going to tell you what this game is about. I'm going to give you the story behind the game. I'm going to show you what some of the components actually do and give you an overview of the board itself. So let's just take a look at this quite cool game. We are in the city of Magoria, and this used to be the city of illusions, with a lot of magicians, illusionists working in this town, walking around doing their tricks and having grand shows. But it was all because of one man called Dalgard. Now, one day he just disappeared, and slowly and steady this city lost its impression of being the huge illusionist city that it once was. Until Dalgard himself reappeared with a message, telling every illusionist and magician in this town that if they can impress him, well then they can take all of his equipments, all of his tricks, and become the next great illusionist in this city. And this is where you come in. So in this game, you are an illusionist or a magician, and you need to choose which type of magician you want to be at the start of the game. Because there are quite a few different. You have pure illusionist, you have more of an escape artist, you have a bunch of different ways that you can use these characters. And this game comes in two different versions. You have the basic versions without the dark alley, but you also have the advanced version where you use the dark alley. Depending on if you're using the dark alley or if you're not using it, well, you need to have different sides of this board facing up, but also different sides of your magician facing up, because one side will have special abilities, and these should be used if you are using the dark alley version. If you're not, well then you simply use the basic version instead. And if this is your first time playing this game, it is really recommended that you use the basic version first, before you build up with the more advanced one. But you are not alone in this endeavor, because you have a specialist by your side. In this game there's three different specialists. This here is the manager. The manager has two multi-component slots. Component piles on each of these slots counts as if they were considered of one more of that component. But you also have the engineer. Looking like this, the engineer board has an additional special trick slot. Whenever this trick is prepared, the player receives an additional trick marker on it. And then we have the pretty little assistant here. Now the assistant have an extra apprentice slot, and this poor bastard does not have to get any wages during the paid wages phase. The player's board is their workshop, because this is where you will create your tricks. Down here you have your character, and again, if you are using the dark alley expansion, well then this side should be facing up. This here is your character, your little magician. You also have an apprentice disc, and again, as I told you before, you have your assistants out here. Now up here will be your trick slots. Down here you will have components. Here you have your assignment card slots, and up here are your characters slots. Here we have your workshops slots. Each player have these assignment cards. Now these cards will determine what you will be able to do during your turn. And you will place these cards on your player board where you have a character. So if you place, for example, the little black cat alley here underneath of one of your characters, well then that character would be able to do that action during your turn. Now, to be able to win this game, you need to get the most fame points at the end of the game. And you will rise to fame by doing magic tricks. You need to get the right components to be able to do the right tricks. Then you will go to the theater. Here you will show your trick to the masses, and they will be amazed, and you will get fame points. And again, the more fame you have in the end of the game, well, the better it is, because the one that has the most will win the game. And during a player's turn, they can do several different actions. They can go to the dark alley if you play with that expansion. They can go to the market to get whatever they need to be able to do their tricks. And they can go to the downtown as well. Here there are even more actions for each player to complete. Now, this game will last 4, 5 or 7 weeks. In the game, that is. I mean, this is a heavy game, but 7 weeks in real life, that's a long time. No, in the game, you will have 5 or 7 weeks to be able to get the most fame. And depending on if you're playing with the dark alley or if you're not, you will have different amount of weeks to do this. With the black alley, it's 7, and without it, it will be 5. The game itself consists of 7 different phases. Now, I will not cover them all in detail, but let's go through them just so you understand the flow of the game. Each turn begins with the starting player rolling these 6 die, and then setting them out in town. Now, these die here will determine a few different things. They will determine which characters can be hired, they determine which tricks can be learned, but also how many coins you can get from the bank. Next step is to set the initiative orders. Now, at the beginning of each turn, the starting positions are rearranged based on each player's fame points. The initiative order is always set to be the opposite of the player's fame points. So the player with the fewest fame points will act first. After we have set the initiative order, we will have a chance to market ourselves by doing some advertisement. Now, if we want to do that, we would need to pay the cost stated on the space we are in. Then we would need to take our little card here and put it on the space we are. But then we would also get 2 fame points. Next we have the assignment phase, and this is where we will assign tasks to each of our characters that we have on our player board. To assign a task, we simply take the card or the action that we would like that character to do and place it face down beneath that character. And we will do that until we have placed cards underneath each of the characters that we have available. The 5th phase would be to reveal our assignment cards and then place out our characters on the location where we have chosen to send them. And we will place them out in initiative order, one by one. Once we have placed out our characters in town, well, then we would perform whatever action that would allow us to do. And again, I will not go into details on each of these locations, but let's just take a quick look at them so we know what the town is about. The different actions out on the board will cost you energy. Now, depending on which character you have placed and where you have placed them, you will have different amount of energy to spend. If you choose to visit the dark alley and get your hands dirty, well, you could get a little bit more advanced assignment cards in the future. And these really spice up the game. You could also influence the future by going to the fortune teller. If you go to downtown, you can choose to go to the doll guard's home and teach a new trick. You can also choose to hire new employers, or you can choose to get money from the bank. Now again, depending on which phases these die show, you will of course be able to hire different people, learn different tricks and get different amount of money. If you don't want to go to town, you could actually stay home in your own workshop. In the workshop, you can prepare your tricks, which is quite important if you want to do tricks in the future. You could also choose to go to the market row. Here you can get components, and you will need these components, because if you do not have the right components, well, you will not be able to perform the tricks you would like to perform. And lastly, we have the place where the magic will actually happen, the theater. Now here you would place your characters to be able to do tricks and get fame in the future. The rows we got down here are the fame points that you will achieve. At the beginning of the game, we will start in a little local theater called Riverside Theater. But as the game goes on, we will move up to more and more fancy places. The final phase is the end turn phase. Here you would pay wages, if they get any wages. That poor assistant there, man, I feel sorry about her. But if they get money, well then they get money now. You would get your characters back to your boards, you will get new orders, and kind of set the game up for a new week in the game. And once the game ends, well, we would need to calculate our fame, our leftover coins, assistance, and so on to see how much fame we have and become the glorious winner of this game. Now, who is this game for? Well, this game is for players that likes a really complex game. That likes a game where you are able to craft your own little tricks together. I mean, this is resource management. You got your little characters that you need to care for and pay wages for. You need to be able to plan ahead with the theater, because depending on which weekdays you are in the theater, you will also get different amount of fames and progress in the game. Depending on which theater you are in, there's also different fame points. I mean, I haven't even talked about how you actually do the tricks themselves, which is actually also quite a complex way of playing the game. But I will let you figure that out all by yourself. The cool thing in this game is that each of these little characters here have their own little specialties. I mean, tricks that they like more than other tricks. For example, the Master of Change here, of course, like more escape artist tricks. Plus, you have this little magical workbook, and in this book you actually get an overview of all the tricks in the game. What you need to be able to complete them, how you complete them, so you are actually able to sit around a table and look in this little cookbook here to be able to plan ahead. Plus, this is actually the player's aid as well. That, my friend, was an overview of this really well-made game. I mean, this is crafted with love and you can just feel it. And it's really the rise of Mind Clash games. This were their first big game that hit the market, and 10 years later, 12 years later maybe, this is still a really big game. And they're actually releasing a new version this year. I really like this game. I mean, there are so much things you would do here. It is brain damaging to sit down and trying to figure out what to do next, but it is a well-made, great game. If you want to know more about the game, well, check out the links down in the description. If you like what I'm doing here, subscribe to the channel, throw in a comment, like the video, whatever you want to do really. But most importantly, my friend, and I think you know this if you have watched my channel before, please remember to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace out.